What we gonna do right here is go back. Way back. Back into time.
Okay, so we're in here today. We're in the book of Enoch, and then, like I said, we're going to precept and piece everything together so we can kind of get one cohesive thought of what's happening. So, Second Enoch, chapter 24. And the highest summoned me, and he said to me, Enoch, sit down on my left with Gabriel. And I bowed down to the highest, and the Most High spoke to me, Enoch, beloved, all that you see, all things that are standing finished, I tell you, even before the very beginning, I created all things from non-being, and the visible, physical things from the invisible, spiritual world. Hear Enoch, and take in my words, for I have not told my angels my secret. I have not told them their rise, beginnings, nor my endless realm. Nor have they understood my creating, which I tell you today. For before all things were visible, like physical, right? I alone, because he was by himself, I alone used to go about in the invisible spiritual things, like the sun from the east to the west, and from the west to the east. But even the sun has peace in itself. And while I found no peace, because I was creating all things, and I conceived the thought, placing foundations in creating the visible, physical creation. So he was saying that I was making things, but I wasn't really fully content in what I was making. I felt like I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do more, which is when he created the physical world.
Genesis 1, verse 1. In the beginning, in the beginning, yeah, in the in the
Listen properly.
in the beginning, yeah, in the beginning, in the beginning, in in the beginning.
Y'all can't tell me that wasn't hilarious. That read it properly in the background. That just took me out. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so this is Genesis 1 1 through 3. In the first times, the highest created the heavens, plural, not one heaven, multiple heavens, heavens and the earth. And the earth was waste and empty, and darkness was upon the face of the abyss. And the wind from before the highest blew upon the face of the waters. And the highest said, let there be light, and there was light. And this is from the Targum Onkelos translation of the first 5 books of the Bible. All right, let's continue with day 1. For on the first day, this is Jubilees chapter 2, verses 2 through 3. For on the first day he created the heavens, plural, which are above, and the earth and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him, the angels of the presence, the angels of sanctification, and the angels of the spirits of fire, and the angels of the spirits of the winds, and the angels of the spirits of the clouds, and the darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoarfrost, and the angels of the voices of thunder, and of the lightning, and the angels of the spirits of cold, and of heat, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and all of the spirits of his creatures which are in the heavens and on the earth. He created the abysses, and the darkness, the eventide, and night, and the light, the dawn, and day. And he hath prepared in the knowledge of his heart. And thereupon we saw his works, and we praised him and lauded before him on account of all his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day. So one of the things that we need to focus on is he created the heavens. Then he also created all of the spirits that serve in heaven. Then he created all of the spirits of the creatures that are both in heaven and on earth, all on the same day. But when we read Genesis, we only have like a limited scope of what actually was happening on the first day. We only see, oh, he just said light and darkness, and that's it. But it's so much more than that. before we even get to the light, in order for the light to come forth, he had to create the light itself and let the light actually become manifest. Because all of these spirits, like I said, like it says right here in Jubilees, all these spirits were created on the first day. Before he even did anything else, he created everything in order to be able to operate, in order to be able to function. That's like you don't build a house without having materials. Okay, Second Enoch chapter 25. And I commanded the very lowest parts that the visible physical things should come down from the invisible spiritual realm. And Adoil came down very great, and I beheld him, and he had a belly of great light. And I said to him, become undone. And Adoil, and let the visible physical come out of you. And he became undone, and a great light came out, and I was in the midst of the great light. And as there is born light from light, and there came forth a great age, eon space of time, and showed all creation which I had thought to create. And I saw it, and it was good. And I placed for myself a throne, and I took my seat on it. And I said to the light, go up higher from here, and station yourself high above the throne, and be a foundation for the highest things, and above the light there is nothing else. And then I rose up, and I looked from my throne. Now, just like we saw in Jubilees on the first day, the spirits of all of these things were already created, but they're not activated until he speaks and tells them to activate. So in order for him to call this particular spirit Adoil forth to be able to even become light, it already existed. So he already had these things created, ready to be used. Like we said previously, in order to build the house, you need the materials in order to be able to do so. So this spirit came forth, and when he spoke and told this spirit to activate, then it became so. And this is the foundation for everything that is at the highest level. So the light is the foundation for everything above, and then we'll keep going.
Darkness, everybody! Darkness is spreading!
Okay, Genesis 1, 4 through 5. And the highest saw the light that it was good, and the highest distinguished between the light and the darkness. And the Most High called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, day the first. Now in Genesis, it's a truncated version of all that's happening, but this is what happened. He distinguished between the light and the darkness. One created day, one he called day, the other he called night. Okay, so we're going to continue to talk about darkness. We've already talked about light. We're going to continue to talk about darkness. Second Enoch chapter 26, and I summoned the very lowest a second time. So it's talking about everything that's below him. And I said, let Arcus come forth hard. And he came forth hard from the invisible spiritual. And Arcus came forth hard, heavy, and very red. And I said, be open, and Arcus, let there be born from you. And he came apart, and an age came forth, very great and very dark, bearing the creation of all lower things. And I saw that it was good. And I said to him, go down below and make yourself solid and be a foundation for the lower things. And it happened. And he went down and stationed himself and became the foundation for the lower things. And below the darkness, there is nothing else. So he said, above this light, there is nothing else. And below the darkness, there is nothing else. So he created parameters by which everything exists in order to have structure. So you have to have structure with anything. You know how, just like in scripture, it says he plans the beginning from the end. So he goes to the end, and then he plans. There's a structure. There is a starting point, and there is an ending point. So the light is the starting point of all this. The darkness is the ending point for all of this. So like I said previously, I love beating dead horses to drive a point home, because a lot of times we get deterred by one thing, but we need to understand that his word is true. Everything he said, he did it. Okay? And Arcus came forth hard, heavy, and very red. And I said, be open, Arcus, and let there be born from you. And he came apart, and the age came forth very great and very dark. Now, this is video footage of magma underwater. So to reiterate the point, now the first video in the presentation is magma underwater because the waters haven't been separated yet. So that would be more accurate to most likely how the darkness was depicted. But the darkness is the foundation. In the Spirit's name, at least according to what's written in the book of Enoch, it's probably a Greek or a Roman name. It's probably been changed. But we'll just go with what's written, Arcus. But he said, come forth very hard. He says, come forth hard, heavy, and very red. And I said, be open, Arcus, and let there be born from you. And he came apart, and an age came forth very great and very dark. And we see lava is red, and it is very, very dark. But it creates foundations. We know land is created from the process of lava and magma, oozing out and then hardening, and then it creates new land. Okay, so Antiquities of the Jews. This is Josephus, Flavius Josephus. I call him, when I read it, I call him Joe CC. So we're going to read what Joe CC got to say. So Antiquity of the Jews, this is book 1, chapter 1, and it doesn't really have verses, but we'll just say verses 1 and 2. Continue. And he said, in the beginning, Yah created the heavens and the earth. And we put the S back in heavens because it's plural. But when the earth did not come into sight, but was covered with thick darkness, and a wind moved upon its surface, and the Most High commanded that there should be light. And when that was made, he considered the whole mass, and he separated the light and the darkness. And the name he gave unto one was night, and to the other he called day. And he named the beginning of light and the time of rest. And in the evening, the morning was indeed the first day. Okay, so back to he's building a house, right? He's building a place for his creation to live. So in order to be able to have a foundation, the foundation has something to sit on. So I don't know if you've ever built a house or lived in a renovation. I am currently living in a renovation, and it is nothing like those HGTV shows. It is not. I can't even watch those shows anymore because it's just too real. It's not at all like that. But the process still is the same. You still need some type of foundation, and you need something for the foundation to sit upon. So right here I have an image of a house, and you see footings where concrete is poured so that the foundation is stabilized, so that as the ground settles, the foundation itself doesn't crack and it doesn't move. Okay, so we saw that the foundation already exists. We saw that on day 1. We're still in day 1, but we're also still talking about what the foundation has. The foundation also has pillars. Just like that house has pillars, the foundation has pillars as well. And he raised it. We're reading the earth has pillars. Let me start there. Okay. 1 Samuel 2:8. He raises up the poor out of the dust and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the highest, and he hath set the world upon them. Okay. Psalm 75:3. The earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it. Selah. And then Job 9:6, which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble. Again, the earth has pillars. And one thing I want you to note is the scale of the man compared to the pillars in the one image.
Stay close. guys having the same dream I am?
We've been living above an entire world, and we didn't even know it.
Also, the earth doesn't move. So the foundation doesn't move. So in 1 Chronicles 16:30, it says, "Fear before him all the earth, the world also shall be stable, that it be not moved." And then Psalm 93:1, "The Most High reigneth, he is clothed with majesty, and the highest is clothed with strength, wherewith he hath girded himself, and the world also is established, that it cannot be moved." Established is like stabilized, okay? Psalm 104:5, "Who laid the foundations of the earth," which we've already talked about him laying the foundations, "that it should not be removed forever." It doesn't move. The foundation stays the same. That's why when you have like people who live in areas where earthquakes, they say, or people who aren't used to living with earthquakes, they say the ground's not supposed to move because the ground doesn't move. Earthquakes happen and shifts happen, but the entire earth does not move. If it does, it's a problem. Okay, the earth also has corners and a cornerstone. So on the outskirts of the earth, there are corners, and there's a cornerstone that it sits upon as well, because we kept talking about building a house, right? We already have our foundation. We have our pillars, which is like our footings for the house. And there's also a cornerstone that needs to be set that everything relies upon. So Isaiah 11:12, and it says, "He has set an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth." And then Job 38:6 says, "Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened?" So the foundations of the earth are kept in place, they're secured. Or, "Who laid the cornerstone thereof?" Meaning that there's a cornerstone there. He's asking Job, like, do you know how everything is made? I know because I made it, right? Then Revelation 7:1, "And after these things I saw the four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor any tree." Okay, let's recap day one. Okay, so day one, Jubilees told us everything that he created on day one. If we just read Genesis, it just looks like he called forth light, he called forth darkness. That's the whole day. But let's read again. Jubilees, we're going to just recap. On the first day, he created the heavens which are above, the earth, the waters, all the spirits which serve before him, which are the angels of the presence of sanctification, the angels of the elements, and the angels of the seasons. Fifth, all the spirits of his creatures which are in heaven and on earth he created. 6, all the abysses. 7, the darknesses, so he's the day and the night. And then the angel said, "Thereupon when we saw his works, we praised him and lauded before him on account of all his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day." So all of these things were created on the first day. Not just number 7, not just the light and the darkness. All of these things were created on the first day. There's another point I had to make, but I can't think of it. But okay, moving on. I remember the point that I had to make, which is why Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning, the Most High created the heavens and the earth." But then it just goes right into light and darkness, as if light and darkness was the only thing that he created. It kind of comes from a standpoint where, like, when you read it just on the surface, it just looks like, okay, light and darkness is the only thing from day one, but the heavens and the earth already existed. But all of those things came to being on the first day. That's the point I wanted to make.